Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Chris Raposo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader with Chris Raposo. Today, my guest is Eve Markman. She is the Assistant Vice President of Brand Management and Operations at the Community College of Philadelphia and the current president of NCMPR. And today's topic is on building a career in community college marketing. Eve, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
The first time I met Eve was at NCMPR, but the first time I really talked to her was at the District 2 conference in Virginia Beach, rainy and stormy Virginia Beach last October, and we got to chat again this March in DC. And since we had a wonderful Community College Month series on this podcast, I figured we'd cap it off with the sitting NCMPR president. So Eve, you've been in this space since 1993. What keeps you here?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I would definitely say the mission of the college, which I think we hear a lot from community college folk, is that, we're helping students on their path, getting, whatever their dreams are, whatever they want to do, we're helping them. And then also just the flexibility and the constant changing. It's the marketing in community college world is always changing. And so I get to work on lots of different kinds of projects, and therefore the job stays interesting. It doesn't get stale. I don't feel like, gosh, I've been doing this for over 30 years, which I have. But it doesn't get stale. It stays really interesting, and I just love it.
That's right, especially when it comes to higher education and the audiences you serve over the last 30 years. You had different generations come in and out of the community college, and the way you have to communicate with them constantly changes. So that's always a great way to keep a pulse on what's going on. Tell me a little bit more about how you got into the industry to begin with.
Yeah, so I maybe have a little bit different path than some people. I was actually a fine arts major, and I was getting that degree and thinking, what am I going to do for a career? I did not want to be a starving artist. And I went and I did an internship at a magazine in London, which was really interesting, and showed me that more graphic design side of things. I mean, graphic design back then was like layout, paste up. There wasn't much computer use yet, but it gave me an idea of like how I could take that creative side and do something more commercial. And then I worked in a couple of publishing companies, mostly education publishing, which was like that interesting connection. And then I worked as a graphic designer for a computer training firm in Washington, DC. I lived in DC for a couple of years. And then I moved back to Philadelphia right after I got married, and this position opened. And it was the job that I first took was the publications coordinator. So, I mean, now we're not printing so much, but back then we were printing everything. Most of our communications were direct mail and printed pieces, and so therefore there was a whole job just related to publications, and I therefore managed graphic design, and I did a little bit of graphic design, but it was becoming more like that creative director position. And then I moved up from there.
That's an interesting fun fact. How did you get the position in London?
It was an internship, so it was through Boston University. I signed up for a summer program, and actually, again, it was like a weird twist of fate. Being a fine arts major, I thought I was going to do an internship at a museum. Yep. And I got over there, and they were like, oh, we don't have those internships open right now. Maybe we can find something else for you. And the magazine internship was actually for more of an English major. Mm-hmm. But they said, well, like it could be a little of everything. You know, we have an art department, we have you know, the ability for you, and the magazine was called Design Magazine, and it was a government-funded magazine that was to show how Britain is doing such a great job in design. This is, you know, late 1980s. And so therefore, they sent me to tons of design shows, like tons of museums, tons of galleries, student shows. And I actually pitched them the idea of doing an issue on student design from all international places. And I wrote to places in Japan, places in the US, and had them send student work in, and we put it in the magazine.
Oh, that's so great. And that's just the experience there that you got is so important as a college student, and the importance of being flexible when you do something different, right? Thought you were working on a museum, and then you got a different opportunity and suggested it to you, and you said yes to it, and the exposure you got from it is invaluable at that age.
Right, and it led to my career. It really was a clean lead.
You know, thinking back over the last 30 years, did you think you'd stayed this long in higher education?
Definitely not. I wonder if anybody thinks that they will stay this long. And in fact, I remember years ago making fun of this friend of mine at the college who said to me that they had been there half their life. And I have been at the college for more than half my life. Wow. I just, you know, like I said, it was very flexible. I started when I was newly married, then I had 2 kids. They were very good about like, oh, you have to run off and pick your kid up at daycare, or it was very flexible in that way. Yeah. And then a couple times I had opportunities. I actually got job offers at 4-year colleges and universities, and my vice president at the time would constantly counter offer. That's how I ended up moving up so much, because people are like, wow, you started out as a coordinator and now you're an assistant vice president. It took obviously a long time, many years, but also having other opportunities and bringing that to the table and saying, look, this university is offering me this. And then it allowed my vice president to realize, well, we really like the work you're doing. Why don't we offer you something to match that? So I ended up staying, and here I am.
Yeah, it's all about leverage in your career.
Sometimes it really is.
You're moving up, but then also you have to produce, right? The president wouldn't have offered you the promotion if you wouldn't have been good in your job.
Right. So, they would have said, "Oh, great, congratulations. Yes. See you later."
See you later. Now with the fine arts major, have you ever thought about leaving the industry and going back a different direction, maybe even to publications, magazine companies?
Once I got on this track, I never really looked back. I just love the fact that I get to work on a variety of things. I remember as an art student, one week I'd be working on a tiny, like 2-inch by 2-inch print, and the next week something 6 feet.
Yeah.
You know, and my professors are like, what kind of job are you going to have? You're all over the place. You never want to stick to one thing. And I really feel that I have found that balance working in community college, because you could be working on, you know, a simple publication one day, and then you're working on environmental graphics the next, you know, TV commercials, radio. It's just, there's so much opportunity to get to do so many different things. And I just don't feel like I feel like people get pigeonholed more in a lot of marketing firms and a lot of, you know, working in other places where you're kind of doing the same thing all the time. I remember I had a graphic designer who left the college to become a creative director, but at a bank. And I was like, is that going to hold your interest? That seems like it could get very the same.
That's right. That's right. Yep, exactly right. So you wear many hats at community colleges. I've talked to a lot of community college marketers, and it's always something that I get to hear. Even with photographers, Matt Stamey was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I get to do this and this and then the other thing, you know? So it never gets old, and I agree. I previously worked in the legal industry, and when it comes to heavily regulated industries like banking or legal, you have a little job there, and does get old at times if you are a creative who has been used to having their hands into different things. So, and then what you said about the flexibility is another thing that people
Mhm.
often forget about, how important that is for employees, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the salary is one thing, but having that flexibility to take care of your family when you have to is something that's a huge selling point for institutions as well out there.
Yeah, and if you're talking back in the 90s or around 2000, there was no such thing as remote work. People didn't do that.
Right.
Not that I had ever heard of, but they were very flexible about, oh, you got to do this for your kid. That's fine. Just make sure if the work was getting done, nobody was really worried about what exactly where you were when.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning into the episode today. I hope you're enjoying it so far. This episode is brought to you by StayMates, a full-service marketing agency servicing colleges and universities throughout the country. For more than 40 years, StayMates has helped higher ed institutions strengthen their brands, launch digital campaigns, and drive measurable enrollment growth. From audience research and content strategy to digital design and accessibility, StayMates brings deep expertise and a practical, results-driven approach to every engagement. Looking for a partner who really gets higher education? Learn more at staymates.com. Again, this is staymates.com for more information. And now, back to the episode.
Yeah. So what's part of community college marketing people don't understand until they're in it? If I have somebody listening in from a 4-year school.
Yeah, I think what they really don't understand is that our target audience is everybody. We are not, a 4-year institution is going for that high school age student. They're really focused on those students, and that's part of our audience. But we have a ton of other people coming back to change careers, or we have people who never went to college and now as an adult they've decided to come to college, or we have high school students that are getting a college degree at the same time that they're going to high school. So our audience ranges from a 14-year-old all the way up to 60, 70, 80. We have senior citizens who come and take classes. So we can't just be focused on one audience. There are times that we target things specific to the age groups or the different audiences, and other times that, we're just out there with our ads, like TV ads, bus ads, things like that are so expensive that you can't make multiple. And so you're trying to find one thing that will resonate with all different aged people.
Yeah. What's that? Like, for example, is there anything that you worked on before where like, okay, this does cover a basis of different audiences?
Yeah, I'd say like all of our advertising and television commercials, radio ads, we really try to have them be generic enough, like interesting, but generic enough that anybody can see themselves at our college and not be like, oh, there's only young kids there, or you have to showcase the diversity on your campus and make people realize like I could feel comfortable. I'm not going to be sitting in a class just of 18-year-olds if I'm 45, or you just have to find a way to express that anybody can build their dreams at your school and fulfill their goals. And everybody's goal is different. That's another thing with the audience is, right? They're not all coming to get a degree. Like, we would like a lot of our students to complete an associate's degree, but many are coming for a certificate program, for a workforce training, to just brush up on some skills. They just come for a summer class, or they want to transfer after 1 year. There's many different roads and many different paths, and we have to be open to all of those and not turn anybody off, not make anybody feel like this isn't for them.
Right, exactly. Like there's certain scenarios where I always think to myself, hey, I should learn a little bit more about accounting because I never took it. I could take a class at a community college just for that particular subject.
Right.
Do you ever work with anybody who came from a 4-year school to your community college, and where did they get stuck when they come from like a bigger school into a smaller sized one?
Yeah, I mean, many people, including my vice president,
Yeah.
come from four-year schools into the community college realm, and I think that audience situation is something that they don't realize right away. It takes a little
Yeah.
time, but then they start to understand also how much support our students need compared to the four-year school. I would say we do a lot more hand-holding, we give a lot more service,
Yeah.
and our students need that. We have to meet them where they are. A lot of them have nobody in their families ever gone to college. They really don't have any idea how to fill out a financial aid application or anything about what they need to do to get into college. And part of my job, I work in the enrollment management and strategic communications division. So most of the operations part of my job is under enrollment management. And there's a lot of focus on how do we help support students, because the getting in, enrollment isn't just how many people respond to a marketing ad,
Yeah.
but how many people you can convert into an actual enrolled sitting in a classroom student. And
That's
there's
right.
a lot of processes that happen between, oh, I'm interested. Okay, you got my interest through the marketing. But now how are you going to get me all the way through? And
That's
we've been really focused on that.
Yeah, and how do you get them to stay? Because this is such a big interruption to one's life when you go into a community college setting or any higher education setting, especially as somebody who is already in the workforce. I still remember when I went to community college as an adult learner and I had a full-time job, and I sat in this classroom at Hillsborough Community College in Tampa, and I'm like, this is an adjustment. It's definitely an adjustment.
It is.
But you figure things out, you figure things out like how things work, how to structure your classes, how to set up the schedule. There may be even some online options as well that help you with the flexibility there. But if you don't know that, then you may
Right.
just churn because it's too overwhelming.
Yeah. And our students really have a lot going on. Some are parents, some are working full-time, some don't have homes or are food insecure. We
Yeah.
have a lot going on with our students, and like you said, retention is a huge issue. So it's a lot more work for those of us in marketing if we don't retain the students. We have to keep that funnel constantly being filled with new. So it's important to be focused on all those efforts for retention too, like
Yeah.
helping students with, if they're food insecure, helping them get food. If they are working full time, how to find them the flexible classes that they need.
Yeah.
We just really need to focus on how to help them with what their issues are.
Yes, and help sell the dream of there's better things beyond this experience, because some people may be in a dead-end job, for example, and they want to move or be career changers, right? Or transfer to university anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania, if possible. I still remember when I went to HCC, and then when I get to graduate, I was able to pick from any school in the state of Florida. And one of them was, South Florida is right down in Tampa where HCC is. So the natural step would be to go to USF. But due to the attention that I got from my community college professors, my GPA was relatively good that I could pick other schools like the University of Florida, which in my mind I thought I would never get to, but I did. And this is one of those dreams you can also always have at the forefront. Hey, you go through this season and you get to the next one, you get this dream job, because I've worked at a law firm as a paralegal. Now I get to interview people like you on a podcast because I'm in marketing, right? So things can always change, can always evolve.
Yeah.
So that's why I love community colleges, because it gives you that stepping stone for a new opportunity and a new life that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
I agree. And we just had graduation last weekend, and we had over 1,900 students graduate. And, you just see the pride and the excitement and how much they persevered to finish. And many of them will transfer on to schools. And a lot of them, because they do so well, they, with the articulation agreements, they can get scholarships to the four-year schools to help them complete their education. So this is a great time of year. It's always an exciting time.
It is exciting. It must be exciting in Philadelphia too, because it's just such a historic place. There's a lot of pride for the city, for the people that go there to communicate, to graduate from there, add a layer of pride to it, and just I've never been to Philadelphia, but I hear good things about it. Just the people itself, very passionate, right? Eagles fans. I hear it all the time. So
Yes. We've got the Sixers and the Flyers in playoffs right now. We're Philly is hardcore sports fans. Yes, very passionate people, and and it's also a very big education just in the city of Philadelphia. We have so many colleges and universities, so there's so many opportunities for our students. 98% of our students end up staying locally and working in the local economy. So a lot of them go on, when they transfer, they go on to four-year schools right in the city of Philadelphia.
nice. Which one is the most popular one that your students transfer to?
It's Temple University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very good. They must
But
love
some
you.
go to Drexel, some go to Penn. There's
Yeah.
LaSalle. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, Penn is really good. Penn is
Yeah.
really good. So, but we were talking about change and people coming from four-year schools to community colleges and then having to relearn things. You had to relearn things too, because you're now leading brand and operations since 2003. But what changed for you when you stepped into that role after serving in marketing and creative services for nearly 30 years?
Yeah, so it was in 2023, I moved into brand management and enrollment operations, and actually it was quite a change because I went from managing an entire team to being a team of one. And this is one of the things that we talk about at NCMPR a lot. You do not have to be a manager to be a leader.
Wow.
There is a lot of leadership in managing projects and running projects. And so I don't have a team that reports directly to me anymore. I'm sort of outside of marketing because I'm doing big picture brand management, which was, started with, we were working with an outside company on our new brand, which we launched in 2024, and all the brand guidelines. But then I'm in charge of all the environmental graphics, all the brand experiences that you come to our campus, and we've really embraced the new brand and the colors and, infused the interior design and everything at our campus with brand management. And then also on the operations side, it's more related to enrollment management, customer service, queuing software. I've implemented 2 different systems in like 3 years. I have to build my own teams. So nobody reports directly to me, but I find people to work on these projects that have the expertise and the interest, and I pull them to become a team. And we work together on a project. And I am managing the project, but they are not my direct reports. And yet, so how do you encourage and get people excited about projects and keep them working on it? And I have made some amazing teams, and they're from all different divisions at the college. Like, they're not all marketing people. Because I need IT. I need people that are technical. I need people that understand enrollment, that work in enrollment directly. I need the facilities people on a lot of my environmental stuff. Like, I had to convince facilities, hey, come to the brand, place. Like, we need to start buying furniture and painting the walls and doing all of these things where you're getting that full brand experience. Like, it feels like you walked into a 4-year school. And, it's been a great ride. Like, at first, like, the job was given to me, and then it was basically said, okay, now you tell us what you're going to do. Like, you come to us with a plan of, like, what your projects are and what you're going to work on and how you're going to get things done. And so I created the job completely myself. There was nobody in this role. And I had to learn how to survive without a team and really thrive by creating these amazing teams of people from around the college that had an interest. Just recently, I was asked to put together the we're having our 60th anniversary right now at the college, and they wanted an exhibit of the history of the college. And of course, I've been here a really long time, and I have worked on many anniversaries. But I found someone, the head of the library, who they're very good archivists and they understand that kind of thing. The person who's in charge of alumni and giving, and our athletics director. Like, who would have ever thought the four of us would be working on a team together? But we put together, they were all really interested. It was such a great time. And we put together this beautiful exhibit and had an amazing event. And the exhibit is going to stay up through the whole anniversary. And it's just like, it's such they're all such feel-good things. And I don't have people who don't want to be working on the project. If they don't want to be working on the project, okay, you can step aside. I'll find someone else. Nobody's being forced to work on these things, and therefore people are really enjoying it. And, in that case of that team, the head of the library, who I didn't even know before, I had never met him, he's like, when can we work on another project together?
That's fun. That's fun. And only 30 years, it gives you the reputation too that people may be more willing to say yes, and they know you. And another point, Community College of Philadelphia, really, really nice campus. I've looked at some of the pictures. The buildings are great. It's not like run down or anything, so I was very impressed with what I've seen. But you briefly mentioned NCMPR there. Tell us a little bit more about NCMPR and why more community college marketers should know about it.
Yeah, I mean, NCMPR has been a lifeline for me. From the time that I was a publications coordinator, I probably started NCMPR about 3 years after I started at the college, and I learned about them from my local marketing group. I think every state or local area has a marketing group for community college folks. And a couple of the people there were very involved with NCMPR, and they're like, oh, you should come. And I started out mostly at district conferences, but the amount of value in what I learned as, starting out as a publications coordinator, not knowing community colleges very well, not knowing all the facets of marketing. I basically came from being a graphic designer, and I needed to learn about all the areas of marketing. And sometimes in a job, you're only really learning about that one thing that you're focused on, right? So if you're a graphic designer, you're mostly doing graphic design, and you're not maybe understanding what is, when I started, there was no such thing as the web. So all of a sudden we had to create a website, and we're like, how do we do this? Who do we know? But every time along the way, every time I need to know something, I just ask the NCMPR community. We have a great listserv. We post questions in there. People respond. We ask, hey, can somebody send me their marketing plan? Can somebody send me their crisis communications plan? Recently, we couldn't find our previous RFP for media buying, and we needed to do it again. I'm like, hey, who has an RFP for media buying? And I think 5 people sent them to me.
Wow.
It's like, we're not competing against each other, so we're very into sharing our experiences. It's the other thing with coming to the conferences, it's all about networking and getting to know other people, and most of those people have gone through the same things that you're going through. Is there reorganization happening at your college? Are you being asked to take on more, or are you being combined with a new department now that you didn't have before? What areas are new to you that you need to work on? And there's always somebody to help. There's always new things to learn. Plus, we go to all these cool cities for our conferences. So I have literally seen most of this country because of NCMPR. Most states that I've been to, the only reason I've been there was because there was an NCMPR conference. And I'm like, oh, I get to go to New Orleans, and then I get to go to San Antonio, and I get to go to DC and Chicago and Seattle. I had never been to Seattle, and now I've already been back. And that conference was only 3 years ago. And it's like, I went to the conference, loved it. And then my husband and I went to Seattle and traveled all around the Olympic Peninsula, and it was such a great time. But it's like, I'd never even been there, hadn't really thought about it. So that adds to it as well. But it's all the value of what you get there is just beyond what I can tell people. It's made such a difference to my career. And also there are things like, if you want to get promoted, you know, and you want to step up to like more of a leadership role, I mean, they have the Leadership Institute, which is amazing, and you can really learn with a cohort of others about becoming a leader. But also, like, if you get involved, say, with the district conference, like I was on the district planning committee forever, but I never really worked on events. But now I got to really work on events and like work with a hotel, and how do you do all of these things, and how do you set up the AV, and how do you plan a schedule? These were things I didn't do in my regular job, but now I had these experiences that I could add to my resume. And same thing working with sponsorships, you know, reaching out to companies like yours and saying, hey, we would love you to come and exhibit or sponsor. And, you know, that's an experience that we don't have in our regular job, but it's like a fundraising type of experience. And now you can add that to your resume, you know, and you can just say, look, I actually know how to do all of these things, even though I don't do them in my day-to-day, I'm doing them with NCMPR, and therefore you can grow in your role because you're getting more experience somewhere else.
That is so true. The cities you guys selected are phenomenal. I was in Seattle as well, never been there, really enjoyed it. Never been to New Orleans, went there as well, liked it a lot. The first one I went to was in 23 in Orlando, and I can just see over the years how the conference has gained popularity because I went there as a vendor, and the exhibit hall was very small and not a lot of vendors. And now that I go, it's like almost double than what I've seen in the past. 4 years ago, you know, the people that show up there just to support the event itself. So yeah, kudos to you all for putting on a good one and making the vendors feel welcomed as well, because it's not a given at these things, you know.
I think because you came to Orlando and it was 2023, that was only our second in-person conference after post-COVID. And I think that was a little bit of a lull. We were actually supposed to be in Orlando in 2020. We had our summer board meeting there, and we had the conference all planned, and literally COVID broke out in March of 2020 when we were supposed to be in Orlando. Therefore, we had no conference. The next year we had an online conference. Then we were in Denver. Sorry, so many years at NCMPR too that I can remember all of these. Denver was the first in-person conference, and still you could tell like how tenuous people were, and there was still a lot of mask wearing, and then Orlando, and then going into Seattle was finally everybody was kind of back to normal, and we picked up speed again. So I think that, you know, we were at higher numbers and then kind of lulled, and now we're fully back, and it's so great, and the support of the vendors has been amazing. And I tell people all the time, you may not need them today, but 3 years from now, you're like, I need a mascot. Oh, that guy from Street Characters comes to NCMPR every year. Here, I have his pen. Oh, Student Life. Why don't you reach out to this guy? And they made our mascot. And it's the same with several of the other vendors. It's like, I see them year after year. I talk to them. I don't always need what they're doing at the time.
Right.
And all of a sudden something changes, or a budget opens up, or we decide we want to do some new thing. Your Type is another vendor that comes. Like they did, when we rebranded, they did 2 huge logo statues for me for 2 of our campuses. And it's just like, but I would never, if I hadn't seen them at NCMPR, I would never have found them. They're like in Wisconsin, I'm in Philadelphia. Like I would never have known them.
Yeah, and that's another lesson for leadership in the vendor space as well, that expect their teams to go to a conference and come up with all these sales, which is unrealistic. It's more of a relationship building brand play there. And then you could, once the people get into the market, then they'll most likely reach out to you if they had a good experience with you throughout and after the fact as well, if they didn't get hammered with sales messages and bombarded in spam. So
yeah, I feel like the vendors that do the best are those that make those real connections. Like come to breakfast and sit down with you and talk about marketing, like talk real talk, and not just stand at the table, because there are a lot of tables and there isn't a lot of time, and you're trying to get up and talk to everybody. But those real conversations and real connections lead in the long run to real relationships that lead to sales. But nobody should assume that you're going to walk in and like talk to someone and have like a whole bunch of sales right
That's
off
right.
the bat.
That is right. That is right. So, final question for anybody listening that's early in their career. If you could go back and talk to yourself early in your career, what would you say?
I think I would say make connections, right? Because you start off, I feel like you start in your job and you're so at your desk and like just trying to focus on the task at hand, and you're not really meeting a lot of people and making those connections that can help you. Because most people, when they start at a certain level and they want to move up and they want to expand and grow. And a lot of times it's the networking and the connections that can help you, whether it's making good connections at your college so that when people are talking about you or the work you do, that they are thinking of you and pulling you into projects, or it's people at other colleges who can, through NCMPR or your local college groups who can help you understand how to get something done. But it's like, it took me a little while to realize how important that was. I was so focused on the task and getting the work done. And, it's getting more of that understanding of like what it takes to be a leader and what it takes to be able to move up. And it's not just about producing work, but also about creating those relationships and those connections.
Yeah. Most important thing you can do in marketing is create those relationships and that network, because that gives you the opportunities for other jobs. Like how I got this job that I have now is because of my network and my relationship building. So good things come from it. Eve, how can people get in touch with you after this episode? How can they connect with you? But most importantly, what do you look forward to during your presidential year at NCMPR?
Yeah, so definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I feel like that's the easiest way for you to find me. It's Eve Markman, and I'm with Community College of Philadelphia. But I am really looking forward to going to all of the district conferences and seeing, as president, you're president for 1 year for NCMPR, and as president, you are asked to attend all of the district conferences if you're able. They are very close together. I will be going from city to city to city all over the country. It's all 6 conferences in 6 weeks. I hope I have the stamina for it. But I am really interested to see the differences in the different areas, because last year I did get to go to District 2. I am in District 1. So I had never been to a conference outside of District 1, but I filled in for the president at District 2 last year. And there's a different vibe. And so I'm curious to see the different vibes at each of these conferences, and also more of a chance to build those relationships and get to know our members who are in different districts. Because at national, I meet some of them, but in the smaller environments of each district, I'm going to get to really know people and find out what it is that they're passionate about, what they would like to learn more from NCMPR about, what we could do to bring to them the things that they need for their job. And so I am really looking forward to getting to each of those district conferences and seeing different parts of the country again. One of them is in Oklahoma City. I've definitely never been there. So I'm looking forward to getting out there and really talking to the members more one-on-one.
Yes, and you'll do a phenomenal job, as I know. And we'll see you at one of the district conferences, I'm sure. I think one of them is in Nashville this year for District 2.
Nashville. Yeah, I will be there.
All right, I'll see you there. I will tag you after this episode. I thank you so much for your time and the insights that you shared, and I will see you on the road.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Education Marketing Leader Podcast this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and your network. And if you ever thought about starting your own podcast, now that you listen to one and you got inspired, reach out to me via DM. We'd love to help you launch your own. We'll take care of everything for you, the scripting, the strategy, the editing, the distribution. All you have to do is show up, connect with your audience, and build your personal brand. So if you're ready for it, let's chat. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time at the Education Marketing Leader Podcast. Take care, friends.